Spooky.
Nathaniel, you look like you're about to give a ransom video in black and white. You need to readjust your lighting.
Nathaniel's really getting spooky over here.
There we go.
Hey, Cinema Symps. Nathaniel's getting with the. I want to hear what you have to say about this, Nathaniel, first. You seem to have had some thoughts at the very beginning.
I'll just start out with the positives. It was a funny movie. There were some good jokes, some also questionable jokes, but some good jokes for sure. The house was very well done and like constructed well, and the idea of translating like personality and even biology to a house was, I thought, creative and interesting. I kind of liked the vibe and the animation style. All that was good. But this movie is like a horse version of Up. It like but see Up tells the story of like a grumpy old man, and who's grumpy because he lost his wife. And it tells this touching story, first by showing us this wonderful relationship he had with his wife and why that grief made him grumpy. And it also shows how this child character that comes along and kind of buddies up with him, how that character has needs too, and they both help each other and move on to a better.
That sounds good. I might check that out.
It's a great movie. I would highly recommend Up. Yeah. But in Monster House, we have the same sort of premise where you have the grumpy old man and the kids coming along to kind of like buddy up with him. But his backstory, while he is also grieving over his wife, he meets his wife and she's at the circus and portrayed as like, oh, she's being treated so poorly. They're treating her like a circus freak. But then the movie never does anything to try to humanize her. Besides that, the only scene that tries to humanize the wife is where the young old man shows up and he's like, hey, let's run away and get married. And she's like, that's cool, I guess. And then she dies before they even finish building her house. So they were probably only married like 20 days. And then he just lives the rest of his life until he's an old man in this house, to the point where once it's all revealed what the house is and the fact that the house is actually the wife and all this, they still don't try to humanize the house or the wife character. They just say, okay, well, we better blow this damn thing up as fast as we can. And then they're all happy about it. Even the old man, you think for a moment he's gonna be like grieving the fact, even though it's hard, it's complicated, that he's lost the final like remnant he had of his wife. He's like thrilled. He's like, I'm gonna go travel. Thanks for ridding me of my wife. It's a glorified story about finalizing divorce papers. It's just I thought it was that whole backstory and character was treated so horribly, and on top of that, I didn't find any of the kids particularly compelling or interesting and all that. And that's what I have to say about Monster House.
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I loved it. I would say I liked it. I think it does a good job of being a kids' Halloween movie, in the sense that it is eerie and it is spooky, but it is also a film that like preteen boys can still have fun seeing. I enjoy the animation style largely. There's a few character models that are terrifying, like the babysitter, probably the scariest character in the whole movie. I like that they went for a different style, so that god awful, like Despicable Me sing, sure, art style, if we can call it that. But I enjoyed it. I thought there were some funny moments. I enjoyed the humor. I think it stood out. The humor stood out a lot more than a lot of kids' films. As Nathaniel said, I really enjoyed the autonomy of the house and how they integrate, like trees or arms, and how the pipes work and how the driveway works, I think all those are solid. I do not disagree with any of Nathaniel's critiques. I think they kind of went for an eerie aesthetic first and foremost, went for a Halloween kids movie first and foremost, and created a story to match that afterwards as a second thought. They definitely could have done a lot more, and I think with work, with a little more effort, with a script, I think it could have been incredible. And I think those story issues make it fall short. I will say it's a tough movie because this falls into a list of a whole lot of movies like Cheaper by the Dozen and Princess Diaries and all that like I grew up watching as a kid, and then I didn't watch for like 10 years. And now I'm coming back to. And it's weird because as a kid I loved them because I was not an intelligent child. I was not a cultured child. I was not a good child at all. I was not a good person. I liked pretty much everything I watched. So it is funny going back and seeing, how critically I think about things now. But I definitely agree with everything Nathaniel said. One thing that I did not realize until now is that Mr. Nevercracker broke out of the hospital and stole an ambulance.
I'm going to fact check that right after this. I'm going to include a clip just to.
That's true.
As a young, stupid child, I just thought that like the hospital was as a very like ignorant of how the American healthcare system works child. I just thought the hospital was like swell guys and they dropped you back off at your house in an ambulance. But the ambulance veers through the road, almost hits the kids, and it's just there for like a solid 30 minutes.
And there's no one else in the ambulance.
There's no one else in the ambulance, and he has like the medical bracelet tied around his arm, and he's wearing a hospital gown. Like all he's missing is an IV. So like I'm pretty sure he broke out, and that is not something I recognized the first like 5 times I watched it as a kid.
I still love this movie, and I accept it for being a really fun like family film. I still watch it with my family like every year. I think it's like I actually like the writing. Just like if my logic doesn't track with this, let me know. But I feel like the reason why they didn't humanize Mr. Nevercracker's wife is because he didn't realize that she was such a monster. And I think he was trying to feel like the hero by taking in this woman that he didn't know without realizing that she was such a bad person. And now he was stuck because he was he himself actually like was a decent person, having to spend like his whole life protecting like everyone, knowing that his wife wanted to kill people that like got near her. And so like when the kids came along and actually gave him the strength to kill her, like he actually was free because of that.
That's still problematic because now we're justifying her being locked up in the circus a little bit,
I enjoyed it well enough. If I have to choose between recommending or not recommending, I guess I would recommend. That being said, there's a lot of strong titles on this list, and I think there are a lot more titles that would be a better use of your time. I think if you're looking for a family-friendly title, this is fine. This fits that bill. It's a good job of being a Halloween kids movie that's still appropriate and has some fun stuff for adults. But some script issues and the endorsement of stealing hospital property kind of pushed it a little bit off the edge for me. So
I still like think the writing is funny, and I think it's like a good spooky Halloween film to watch with your family. It's not like scary or not creepy. It's definitely like a family film. But I still love it completely, and I really do like it, and so I would recommend it.
I would recommend this movie if you're like fall in our category and had nostalgia for it and liked it as a kid, and will watch it again. I'm glad I watched it again. I would not recommend this movie particularly just as a kids movie. Like I think there's just better movies to like bring to your kids that have more positive messages. But yeah, so in that sense, I probably wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, if you remember it as a kid and want to revisit it and watch it and kind of rethink it for yourself, I would encourage you to do so.
Well, Dad, why don't you kiss my hairy butt? Did you got any beer?
Monster House.
The next film is one I'm pretty excited for. It's called When the Night Eats the World. It is a little bit more of an unconventional zombie film with a smaller budget. And I think it does some fun stuff. I'm excited for us to have a cool talk about it.
Cool. Well, yeah. that was our show, and we'll see you next time.
Again soon.
Bye bye.
Keep it spooky.
Love you.
I like you.
Could go either way.